CO tells him that he even looks younger than he does. Director Kim tells CO that he is just full of life. He could do anything. CO tells him that the world would be shocked at his skeletal restructuring, and Director Kim agrees. Now he needs to hand the Martial Alliance over to his successor soon. CO wonders if anyone fits the bill. The Martial Alliance leader must have at least some skill in martial arts, but not a single one understands martial arts properly. CO just tells Director Kim that he is the extraordinary one here. There's no genius in the world like him. But even so, Director Kim must find a successor. 15 years later, CO explains that it's been 35 years since he started his life on the ascension path. Now he is already in his mid-60s, and Director Kim, after a single year since his skeletal restructuring, passed the position of Alliance leader to his successor and left. CO wished he could retire with him, but to manage order within the Alliance, he had no choice but to stay as the strategist of the Alliance until now. Director Kim said he wished to travel around Yinghua more. Maybe it's because of that, but Director Kim didn't come to CO's retirement ceremony. As CO is walking in the compound, he notices that the place is too quiet. He bought this manor with his retirement fund, but it is too big to live in alone. He notices someone in the bush ahead and asks for the person's identity. He slowly approaches and realizes that it is Director Kim, who looks like he was beaten up. CO asks what happened to him and where he has been instead of coming to his retirement ceremony. Before he can finish his words, Director Kim falls to the ground cause he is exhausted. CO asks again what happened to him, and Director Kim explains that he truly believed he was blessed with a gift in martial arts. CO agrees, if he weren't a genius, then who could be considered one? Director Kim continues that among those in Yinghua, no, among any ordinary mortal, nobody is capable of matching his martial talent. CO laughs that he is calling himself ordinary, cause everyone knows he is the strongest man underneath the heavens. Before CO can finish his words again, Director Kim tells him that he fought a cultivator. You know, the ones from 35 years ago. Those flying monsters who kidnapped their co-workers. CO going silent for a while and thinks about cultivators. He recalls that they don't reveal themselves. Easily they lurk within the shadows of Yinghua's royal palace, manipulating the entire country. And ever since the alliance was formed, as their influence in Yinghua grew, they began to direct their influence on them. Director Kim had problems with that, but as going against their words would mean opposing the nation itself, he had no choice but to follow orders for the sake of protecting the Martial Alliance. Because of that, Director Kim gave up the position of Alliance leader. He wanted to duel them as an individual by scouring Yinghua alone. In the present, Director Kim explains that the cultivators were truly difficult to find, and even when he did locate one, they would ignore him, saying that mortals aren't worth fighting and used illusions or simply flew to leave, making it difficult to even fight them. But 5 years ago, he was able to duel a cultivator. CO asks if he managed to win, and Director Kim says yes. CO is relieved, because if he had done that while he was the Alliance leader, he would have caused him a lot of trouble. Director Kim continues to explain that he put his life on the line to fight the cultivator who reached the Chi building stage, and he barely managed to make a small cut on his fingertip. CO becomes shocked after hearing this. The cultivator said that even a single scratch would count as his loss, so technically Director Kim won. CO asks if the cultivator of the Chi building stage is like one of the strongest cultivators. Director Kim responds, no, the cultivator told him Chi building was the second to lowest stage in the world of cultivation. Using the standard of a martial artist, it's akin to being a second rate. CO thinks that this is nonsense. In his previous life, and this one, he knew cultivators were ridiculous beings. But Director Kim's martial arts undoubtedly reached the sky. He can truly walk atop nothing and utilize martial arts while suspended in air, and he's capable of cutting through entire buildings or steel as if they were tofu. But such a genius barely nipped the finger of a bottom-rate cultivator. Director Kim feels like he was a frog in the well. Mortals can't face the cultivators. They are living natural disasters. CO is honestly speechless. Director Kim reaches into his clothes and pulls out the cultivator's severed arm that he managed to cut off today. CO gets excited again that martial arts was able to surpass, but director Kim says no and cuts him off again. He explains that the cultivator just placed some paper talisman on himself and his hand grew back. Director Kim declares that he thinks this is the limit of his martial arts. CO asks what he means, and he tells him that he is here to say goodbye to him today. The cultivator said he held Director Kim's willpower in high regard, and that he was willing to accept him into his cultivation sect. He will probably start from the bottom up there. CO asks, but to become a cultivator means to surpass mortals. Isn't it impossible without a spiritual root? For a regular mortal, the stage of 5 energies converging to the origin is equivalent to the 5-element spiritual root the cultivators are naturally born with. Director Kim explains to CO that in order to gain the trait that cultivators are born with, mortals like them must use their entire lives to even manifest that basic quality. He then uses his sword to cut open a dimension rift and steps into it. He tells CO that he is leaving now to aim for a higher stage. This book that he is offering is his last gift to CO. He tells him to stay safe, and he disappears. The name of the book is The Record of Transcending Cultivation and Exhausting Martial Arts. It is a record of attempting to use martial arts to surpass cultivation. CO wonders where Director Kim is going without him this time. And so time passed, and just like that, he lay on his deathbed again. Fate sure is cruel. It has been 50 years since he came to this world, and here her lies dying from a common cold, just like his previous life. No matter how hard a human tries, they can't escape fate. In the end, all that changed is his house and bed. Ultimately, he died on the same day. He lived life to its limits, because he didn't want to experience the same regret in my past life. He was so busy he hadn't even thought of marriage. Thanks to that, he was able to unite the Yangwa martial sects and experience plenty of the fame and wealth the mortal world could offer. But he still has this sense of emptiness. If they had struggled harder, could Director Kim and he have reached the sky? His body quakes in this sense of powerlessness. What a disappointment, and just like that, he died again. This marks the end of his regression. Since the MC of the story is dead again, his second regression begins. CO opens his eyes and finds himself back in the same forest in his previous life, the Ascension Path. But this time, things will surely be different. His body is brimming with energy, and he notices that his regression isn't just a one-time thing. So bro is basically Subaru from the anime, Re-Zero, but with better mental strength. I respect that. And just like his previous life, the Nepo baby charges at him with his hand to slap him again. Is this guy going to do this every time he comes back to this place? CO swiftly moves out of the way to dodge the slap. While Nepo baby is busy trying to slap him, CO is wondering why he regressed again. A new body, full of energy, and a new opportunity are undoubtedly a good thing. Though what about the things he had built up for the past 50 years? At the moment, the Nepo baby is still trying to hit CO. Bro gave it up all right. He calls CO a bastard. He almost got them all killed. And now you have the nerve to dodge. But still, CO isn't really listening to his complaints. He wonders if regression is really a good thing. In his opinion, it is not. It is a curse, one that denies him the meaning of life, and surely a couple of regressions may be a thankful opportunity. But if this were to go on forever, he'd be trapped in fate's wheel, forced to wallow in the suffering of life until the end of time. Moreover, he can't meet the people he knew in his previous life again. The people in front of him now are simply beings that have the same appearance as the people he knew from his past life. And the Director Kim, whom he thought of as my own brother, no longer exists in this world. Director Kim tries to calm the Nepo baby down. CO tells the Nepo baby to calm down. What help would being angry do right now? In the first place, the Nepo baby was supposed to be on driving duty today. He warned him before he forced CO to drive that he wasn't able to sleep last night because of the work the Nepo baby had already offloaded on me. How would he have been able to dodge an incoming avalanche on a narrow road? You should stop pointing fingers and let them think about what we need to do. The Nepo baby is silent after this. CO tells Director Kim that they need to search for a place where they can stay before the sun sets. Everyone else should look for the car or a way out of this forest. When the sun sets, he'll light a fire, so come on over to it. Later at night, CO wonders if there is even a point in making bonds with these people. He'll be alone by himself in the end. Right now, what he fears is the unending regression of time to come. Infinite regression, this ability must be removed. Would it disappear if he somehow returned to Earth? Seeing how he always regresses back to this moment on the ascension path. But he wonders how he would get home. And he remembers the old cultivator from his previous life said that when the ascension gate opens, nearby spaces destabilize, so ordinary humans could have been caught up in spatial storms. So the answer to returning is the ascension gate. It must be related to why they fell into this world in the first place. Maybe they can return to their original world using it. First, that means he must grow stronger. As an ordinary mortal, he can't accomplish anything. He needs to become a cultivator like Director Kim in his past life and cultivate. Once he gains a longer lifespan by becoming a cultivator, he'll be able to research the Ascension Gate sufficiently. He will become a cultivator and go to the Ascension Gate. In the morning, CO was busy consuming the yellow bamboo roots to help gather strong chi in his core. He didn't know heart methods in his previous life, so eating these yellow bamboo roots wouldn't have done anything. But if he uses the dragon vein chi method that Director Kim made for him, he can break through his blocked chi passageways. He realizes that it's not easy to cure a body soaked in preservatives from fast food and stress. Sometime later, he breaks a stick and shapes it as a sword, so he can use it for training. He starts practicing his moves from his previous life. In his past life, he was just an average second-rate martial artist, but since he wasn't practicing near the end of his life, his skills had dulled. But of course, he has it all in his head, so growing skills is just a matter of time. After he strikes the tree with Severing Mountain Sword technique, Director Kim notices it and approaches him to ask how he managed to slash the tree with a wooden stick. Just what was that strength? CO looks at the tree that he slashed and thinks that this is the man who will instruct me to become a cultivator. He asks Director Kim if he wants to try learning this technique, and Director Kim gets excited at the idea of learning the technique. Out of nowhere, the fox comes, calls them filthy humans, and they dare play around in front of the master of this forest. CO completely forgot about the fox. The fox attacks CO again in this life, and all he can do now is to apply pressure to his nerves to ease the pain as the fox bites away at his arm. He thinks to himself that he is weak in my first life, and in my second he was weak. And now, in his third regression as well. So we're just going to skip his second regression and jump to the third regression. You want to know what happened in his second life? In his previous life, he vowed to attain the level of 5 energies converging to the origin and become a cultivator. But despite learning from the best master for over 100 years, he barely managed to make it to becoming a first-rate martial artist. His talent is worthless compared to that of the people here. Despite that, he then rips his arm off, to everyone's shock, and hands it over to the fox. Regardless of whether becoming a cultivator takes a millennium or 10 more regressions, he won't give up. The fox is pleased at CO's attitude. He is offering up a sacrifice of his own accord. He decides to have a taste. CO then vows that he will give the fox his arm anytime, until the day he surpasses the fox's strength. After eating his arm, the fox left, allowing us to stay there. Without regard for his coworkers, he continued to swing his sword alone in the forest. Aside from when the cultivators arrived to heal his arm and kidnap his coworkers, he swung his sword without food or rest. He finally stopped on the 4th day, when the Sea Dragon King appeared. CO dared to ask the Sea Dragon King a question, which is how he tends to give spiritual root to someone like their deputy manager, Ohaisio, who lacks a spiritual root. The Sea Dragon King is quite surprised that a mere mortal like CO is well informed about cultivators, but he still answers the question anyway. He plans to give her his blood to awaken the spiritual root in her befitting of her talents. CEO then pleads to the Sea Dragon King for the rest of them to be given the same opportunity, since they're all from the same land. So they might also have some special powers that he could be interested in. The Sea Dragon King is insulted by CEO for making demands and uses his power to bring CEO to his knees. He warns him not to make demands to high-ranking cultivators like me. They've lived through dozens of millennia and have seen and learned countless things they could not even dare to comprehend. As he is one of the kinder ones, he'll forgive him, but certain freakish cultivators would be more than willing to crush you like insect for making eye contact. And just like the previous life, the Sea Dragon King transforms and flies away with his new member. The next day, when the old geezer came for the other female co-worker, CO asks the same question about the spiritual root. The old cultivator shows him a priceless pill that awakens one to their spiritual senses. A mortal can gain the opportunity to become a cultivator if they consume it. CO realizes that there are other ways to become a cultivator. The old cultivator adds that it is also possible for mortals to train in martial arts and gain the 5-element spiritual root, but that path takes far too long and results in a mediocre outcome. The pill is the best way. Then the old geezer throws them into the portal again, since he has no business with them. CO opens his eyes, but this time he didn't end up in an alleyway in the city, but he landed on a tree in the forest southwest of Yanghua. His previous life was just spent like his second one, where he and Director Kim traveled throughout Yanghua. After spending almost 100 years traveling Yanghua, he knows every place by the back of his hand. He wakes up Director Kim. When Director Kim woke up, CO brought him to the nearest city, and then he explained the situation to him. He seemed quite confused, but he soon appeared to accept this new reality. They soon arrived in Hobiak City and sold the herbs of the Ascension Path to buy a small house. CO taught Director Kim the language as well as the Severing Mountain Blade, which he had created himself in CO's second regression by modifying the Severing Mountain Sword in order to make it better suited to the weapon he used. This time, after just 3 months, Director Kim reached the level of 3 flowers. CO is seriously disheartened, because while someone like him can spend 2 whole lifetimes just training and barely reach first rate, this guy made it in 3 months of learning martial arts. Director Kim is so happy that he tells CO that he thinks he can beat him now. CO thinks to himself that this Director Kim is not the same Director Kim he knows from his previous life, whom he considered to be his brother. He is mentally several times younger than CO. In terms of mental age, he'd be as old as Director Kim's grandfather. So he shouldn't accompany him in this life. He hands Director Kim a book and asks them to go their separate ways. Director Kim is shocked. He wonders if he did something wrong, and what is the reason for this? CO thinks of what the reason could be. He remembers his regression, when Director Kim became the Martial Alliance leader, but despaired after losing to the cultivators. The second regression wasn't much different. He created the record of gazing cultivation and exceeding martial arts by improving upon the record of transcending cultivation and the exhausting martial arts and fought cultivators, but he was unable to surpass stronger cultivators and gave up, leaving the path of martial arts and disappearing to become a cultivator. CO knows that the same thing will happen in this life, and he no longer wishes to witness Director Kim's face filled with despair. He tells Director Kim that he wants to tour the lands and improve his own skills. Director Kim wonders how he will live on his own without CO. CO tells him that his martial arts skills should be more than enough to go off on. He has taught him how to communicate, write, and fight. He is a martial artist at the martial peak level, so he no longer needs to worry. Director Kim is just sad that he will have to part ways with someone who shares his homeland once again. CO decides that they should meet on this day in this very house every 2 years. And Director Kim agrees. After convincing Director Kim, he left the house. CO heads into town. He goes to the Hall of 8 Respects and is stopped by the guard. He bows and requests a duel. The guard laughs and tells him that one cannot barge into this place, and before he can finish his words, CO slashes at the guard's weapon and his clothes. To his shock, the weapon and clothes fall apart. CO declares that he will grow stronger, and he'll do whatever it takes. CO gets led into the Hall of 8 Respects, and a sect member tells him to come in. The sect leader is waiting for him. CO then follows her as she leads him to the sect leader's location. He gets to the place where the sect leader is standing on a fighting platform, waiting to face this new stranger. All the sect members and elders are gathered around to witness this duel. Honestly, the sect leader was wondering who the guest might be when he heard a first-rate martial artist was here, but he never expected it would be a young lad. CO greets the sect leader of the Hall of the 8 Respects, and the sect leader notices that CO's chi is undoubtedly formidable, and SEO also thinks that the sect leader's chi is also the same. He wishes the sect leader could bestow an inexperienced fellow like himself some of his teachings. The sect leader takes out his weapon, and I must say, that is the coolest weapon I have ever seen. They both take a fighting stance and prepare to face off with each other. The sect leader then declares that he shall make the first move. He strikes the floor where CO is standing, but CO manages to escape the attack. The sect leader uses chi to control the weapon, which is called Nine Chucks, and directs it at CO, but CO quickly blocks and deflects the attack. All the sect members were shocked that he was able to deflect the sect leader's Nine Chucks with his sword. The sect leader can tell that CO is at the late stage of first rate from the way he reacted. He has reached the level of becoming one with the sword. But the sect leader is not the only one observing his opponent. CO has also noticed that the sect leader has completely merged his martial arts with his weapon as well, as CO learned much from that single move. The sect leader is excited to meet someone at the same level as him at such a young age. He thinks SEO must truly be a genius. Big man, you do not know half of the story. What this man has been through to get to this level, only the readers know. Even CO chuckles at being called a genius. To him, that's hardly a compliment. He knows it may seem impressive that he has reached this level of prowess that would take others decades to reach in his late 20s. But he's just one of the many talentless fools commonly found in the world. The sky never gave him such talent. He is the heaven's forgotten son. But regardless, he still thanks the sect leader for praising his yet sufficient skills. He thinks to himself that, despite his lack of talent, he was able to develop a level of martial prowess equivalent to those of geniuses. Regression is truly an opportunity for him. But now he will act as a genius. CO tells the sect leader that he will use sword energy from here on out, and the sect leader agrees to take things seriously. CO uses his mountain severing sword first form, transcending peaks technique, to attack the sect leader, who manages to evade the attack. But CO is hot on his tail. He uses several forms to attack, but the sect leader blocks all and prepares an attack of his own. He delivers several strikes at CO, who also blocks them with his sword. The sect leader starts to notice that he can't see through all of CO's monstrous sword art. The two keep going back and forth with the attacks, until CO releases a different form and manages to scratch the sect leader's face, to the shock of the sect members. One point out that CO's sword is becoming faster as he goes through the art forms. The sect leader is struggling to keep up with CO's art forms, and another sect member notices that CO's speed is not the only thing increasing. His sword is also gaining ridiculous amounts of force. CO strikes the sect leader again, and when he notices that he is struggling to cope with it, he decides to end things now. CO leaps up into the air and uses the 12th form, Seven Lights Emerging Peak. That form completely shatters the Nine Chucks, to the shock of the sect leader and all the sect members. The sect leader even gets injured and admits defeat. CO bows to thank the sect leader for the opportunity, and turns around to leave the destroyed battleground. As he is leaving the Hall of 8 Respects, bystanders and NPCs stare at him, and he is surprised that there is no backlash from the sect members. He knows the Hall of 8 Respects is an orthodox sect well known for following a strict moral code. So next, he should visit the unorthodox sections. With this tour of travels, he hopes to reach the martial peak in this life. CO toured 4 more medium-sized sects in Seokyung City, and among them, he lost to the Yunryu sect and the Hwayoung sect, but was victorious at the Geju sect and the Yugwol sect, and now in the Hojing sect, after defeating a sect member. The old-ass sect leader, who was sitting nearby, starts laughing and confirms if CO is the young first-rate martial artist who was recently challenging duels around Seokyung City. He acknowledges Seo's skills, and he also bows to thank him. But the door behind the old sect leader opens, and 10 bald-headed men come out of it. The old sect leader asks Seo if he's ready to face up against 10 of the elders. What a cunning old geezer. Seo wonders if this is how unorthodox sects exact revenge. Seo tells the old geezer that he thought the duel ended in his victory. He has never ever heard of consecutive duels, especially one where the challenger would fight 10-on-1. The old geezer shows a malicious smile and asks if that is so. Seo quickly realizes the old geezer's intentions, and he tells him that if he lets the sect's devious ways be known to other sects, the Hojing sect's name will fall to the ground. The old geezer explains that that is no problem. The challenger received a simple scratch while dueling at their sect. Said scratch became infected, and he fell ill and died. Although the sect tried to take good care of him, despite their best efforts, the challenger unfortunately passed away. As the old geezer laughs and says to Seo that a dead man can't possibly refute their words, the bald-headed man surrounded him, and Seo realizes that they are even crazier than he thought. The old geezer tells Seo that if they were to kill him in the sect, there wouldn't be any problem with their reputation. But Seo smirks. Bro is probably thinking in his head like,
You know how long I've been waiting for this? Woo, I'm about to make a name for myself here.
after all, he did come here for this. Seo points his sword at the bald-headed men and tells them to come at him. He accepts this ridiculous duel. The bald-headed men charge at him. Starting now, the real duel begins. At night, in the city of Seokyung, in a tavern, some drunk men talk about the young master who goes around requesting duels from sections. They think it is a shame for that young martial artist to request a duel from an unorthodox faction like the Hojing sect. One of the men really couldn't believe he'd request a duel with an illegal organization like the unorthodox faction. Another drunk man thinks that he was just naive. He thinks that everything in the world would go as one thinks. They think Seo brought death upon himself by letting his skills get to his head. The Hojang faction looks like a sect at first glance, but they're no different than a bandit hideout inside. Seo is probably buried right about now. Speak of the devil, Seo steps into the tavern, and the waiter welcomes him with a confused look. Seo stands at the door in blood-soaked clothes, and he orders 1 bowl of noodles. As everyone is shocked to see him, the waiter decides to mind his business and asks Seo to come in and take a seat. The drunk men who were loud just a few moments ago go silent as Seo walks past them to take a seat. Honestly, Seo is still upset with the members of the Hojang sect because of those shameless brutes almost died. Not only did they fight him 10 against 1, but they also even laced their weapons with poisons like cowards. It's a good thing he had learned a first-rate medical technique during his time as the chief strategist of the Martial Alliance. If he hadn't eaten the antidotes and stimulants he had prepared in advance, he would have been dead. Furthermore, when that old geezer, in his last-ditch effort, had all the underlings of the sect raise their spears and aim their arrows to charge at him in battle formations, he fought like a beast just to survive. Despite all that, he survived. For the members of the Hojang sect still breathing, he severed their meridians and left them as cripples, so they couldn't search for him in revenge. Damn, bro is ruthless. He's really not taking any chances. Back to the story, but that being said, his nerves aren't going down due to taking too many stimulants. He guesses he won't be sleeping for the next few days. He should request another duel at another righteous sect. Seo picked up his sword and left the tavern after eating his noodles. News spread of the young martial artist master immediately leaving to request another duel after eating a bowl of noodles, just after his bloody battle against the Hojang sect. The insane martial artist was the talk of countless people, bringing about a ruckus in Seokyung City, and people gave the insane master a fitting title, the infinite fighting spirit, Seo Eunhyun. While still in a fight, Seo thinks he lacks talent. The path to the pinnacle he seeks to reach is impossibly distant. Therefore, he must constantly fight, crossing the boundaries of life and death to reach the realm. In order for someone without talent to overcome a wall, they must be insane. If one lacks talent, one must possess madness instead. That's the only way for a dullard to catch up to a genius. And so, Seo ransacked all over Yinghua, not just Seokyung City, visiting both righteous and unorthodox sects and dueled relentlessly, even multiple times in a single day. Time went by, And 5 years later, at CEO and Director Kim's house, CEO was dueling again with someone he seemed to be having a tough time with, and he even used several of his forms. He gathers energy on his sword, and he thinks the form of sword silk that can only be possible at the pinnacle realm. Even just manifesting it for a moment puts a tremendous strain on his mind. But he is frustrated that if he doesn't do this, he won't be able to keep up, because his opponent is the younger version of Director Kim. Director Kim attacks CEO, who manages to block it momentarily before the force sends him crashing to the ground. All of his sword energy was scattered in just one strike. Well, he's the strongest martial artist of all time across 3 different regression for a reason, the GOAT. Director Kim, emerging from a smokescreen, says to CEO that due to his fame, he was expecting a lot, but he's still quite lackluster, the almighty infinite fighting spirit, master of CEO. It seems the strongest martial artist in the world, Kim Young-hoon, the GOAT, has won. CEO is impressed by Director Kim's insane talent, and he congratulates Director Kim. He has noticed that Director Kim has become much stronger than last year. CEO is surprised that this time, Director Kim attained 5 energies converging to the origin in just 5 years. He wonders what exactly he did in those 5 years. His level is still first rate. Talent truly does crush the spirit of people. In any case, he asks what brings Director Kim to the house. Didn't they decide to meet every 2 years? Director Kim explains that after he attained 5 energies converging to the origin, he had visited various major sects in Manhwa, and he realized something. CEO asks what he realized. Director Kim explains that there is no one above him in martial arts in Manhwa. Now no one lasts a second against him. CEO just annoyingly stares at Director Kim, like, duh, tell me something new. Director Kim wants to start an organization or sect since he is the strongest martial artist, and he was hoping Iseo could join, but Iseo quickly refuses this idea. CEO notices that Director Kim has already caught the Murim Alliance Leader syndrome. If he agrees to his offer, he is sure that even in this life, he will end up as a strategist or vice leader and toil away like a cow. Now, every minute, every second is precious for him if he wants to reach the pinnacle realm with his talent. Director Kim continued saying that it would be difficult to meet him as often once he starts his organization, and by persuading SEO that he could always spar and guide him if CEO were to join him. But CEO refused. No matter the condition, he'd already received countless guidance and sparring sessions from him in his past lives. So what he needs now is real combat experience. Director Kim, in his past life, advised him to undergo numerous real battles once he reaches the last first-rate level. So in this life, he decided to observe Director Kim's journey from afar and continued his endless series of duels. With that, 20 years have passed again. Director Kim comes back to their house for a visit, and he notices that Seo's face has gone haggard. Turns out in the end, Seo's talent is a talent abandoned by the heavens. Even though Seo has trained endlessly, Director Kim is surprised that Seo has still not broken through to the next realm. Seo looks at his sword and thinks that his understanding of sword chi has certainly surpassed that of others in the league, but he couldn't last beyond 3 moves against the high-ranking masters. Even Director Kim finds it strange that Seo has become much more one with the sword than before, yet he still hasn't reached the peak realm. For someone with as much real combat experience as he has, it should have been more than enough. Seo smiles regretfully, as if he has accepted his fate. This is his talent after all, a talent that the heavens have thrown away. He suddenly gets a nosebleed and gets frustrated that it has only been half a day, but he has already reached his limit. If he could cast his sword chi all day without any trouble, maybe then he'll see a little bit of the path. Director Kim hands him a new book and hopes Seo can succeed. He also explains that the book contains insights he gained from fighting the cultivators this time. He held out against the cultivators' spells by dragging things out as long as possible, and he managed to escape. While looking at the book, Seo thinks that the book is as thick as the main volume of the record of martial arts surpassing through cultivation and leaps, an evolved version of the record of transcending cultivation and exhausting martial arts. Seo asked Director Kim if he really gained this much insight just from successfully escaping. With a serious look, Director Kim tells him that cultivators are a natural disaster in human form. Escaping a natural disaster, of course, the insight gained would be immense. CO promises to keep it safe and pass it on to future generations, and Director Kim thanks him. Director Kim plans to head out to seek cultivators once more. He hopes they meet again alive next time. But before Director Kim leaves, he gives CO a hint to reach the peak realm. All the scenery and spaces he passes by and experiences, he must always try to imprint them in his mind. CO is shocked to hear this, cause bro is seriously telling him to memorize everything around him all the time. Director Kim explains that in order to make use of the surrounding terrain during battle or sparring, he must try to store the surrounding space in his mind. He must try to make something he only does in battle into something he can always do. CO seriously wonders how anyone can do that. Just maintaining sword chi consistently feels like his head's going to explode, and now this genius is telling him to keep spatial awareness steady on top of that. If this keeps up, won't his head really explode? There must be a reason why Director Kim, the strongest martial artist under heaven, gave him such a task. And so, from that day on, he tried remembering every space that came into view, and he started to remember where everything was. As he moves through the city, through the people, and through the forest, he memorizes everything. Now it's been 5 years since he started maintaining the sword chi and the spatial awareness. He feels dizzy. Perceiving all the spatial information that enters one's field of vision is no ordinary or easy task. And now, beyond just visual information, even auditory information has begun to be perceived. He wonders if he will be able to perform martial arts properly in this condition. There are no more sects to deal with anyway. For about 30 years, he traveled all over the Yun Kingdom, engaging in sparring matches with minor sects and occasionally with major ones. At that point, there's practically no sect in the Yun Kingdom that he hasn't visited, and now he makes his living by collecting bounties. It came to the point where he was capturing bandits. He has to fight enemies who attack without regard for means and methods, all while in this dizzying state. He wonders if he will really be able to survive. A bandit spots him and alerts the rest of the bandits. Either way, this is the path he has chosen. A fat bandit comes out, trying to act tough and telling CO that he is dead. CO prepares to take on all the bandits and gets into a fighting stance. This is the path he must walk. 15 years later, CO is asking Director Kim if he survived something. Director Kim, now with scars on his face, happily responds, yes, he survived fights with a natural disaster in a human form. As CO pours tea, he thinks that it's already been 45 years since he returned to this life. By now, his vision and hearing go without saying. Even his sense of touch, taste, and smell have reached a state of refined perception. But that's it. He still hasn't become a master at the peak. Really, after all this time and doing everything possible, he still hasn't reached the peak realm, bro. If it were me, I would crash out. Director Kim tells him that it seems he has become wanted. Maybe he has become a bit famous among cultivators. 2 cultivators had set a trap and were waiting for him. He barely managed to escape. Still, he did manage to land a small cut on one of their cheeks. CO asks if he must have gained a lot of insight this time as well. But Director Kim disagrees, cause he still can't beat a judgment stage Taoist. If he can't escape, he'll end up as a corpse lying on the ground. To be honest, this has been on his mind lately, that this extreme state of the 5-path core he has reached might actually be the end of the martial path. Maybe even the record of martial arts surpassing through cultivation and leap CO first gave him. He wonders if he had thoughts similar to his. That no matter how strong or skilled one becomes, martial arts alone can't defeat cultivators. CO, for some reason, saw a reflection of himself in the current Director Kim. He clearly possesses a talent bestowed by the heavens, and CO himself was born with a talent abandoned by the heavens. But Director Kim and CO clearly possess talents that are polar opposites. So why does he look so much like him? He tells Director Kim that it's frustrating not knowing why he can't reach the peak realm. Director Kim is surprised that even after mimicking sword chi and the perspective of the peak realm, he still can't reach it, and he still has no clue why. He asks for a duel for old time's sake, and the other agrees. The two head to the forest for what could be their last sparring match of this life. And after losing again, SCO asks Director Kim what he thinks his problem could be. Director Kim truly doesn't know. In his opinion, CO should have become a peak master long ago. CO asks what he means by that. Director Kim explains that, yes, the situation is bizarre, even if he doesn't have talent at all. Maybe what is missing is the right trigger. CEO is confused, so Director Kim explains further he needs something like desperation or driving force. Something that could push him past the limits of his talent by drawing out extreme focus. And just like that, something inside CEO just snaps. Finally, I was wondering when we will get a crash out scene. Bro has started to feel robotic to me. CEO shouts out furiously, "What kind of damn trigger is he even talking about?" He has wielded a sword for over 50 years, his whole life, and other lives, if I may add. And now this guy has the nerve to tell him he needs some kind of trigger. Does he still need to yearn for? And how much more desperately? He has risked his life and struggled all his life just to escape mediocrity. He activated every meridian in his entire body. Now, even when he sleeps, he holds his sword and releases sword energy. Even in his dreams, he has reached the point where he processes every bit of scenery and information he sees. This grown-ass man lies on the ground and throws a tantrum like a kid whose parents refused to buy him some candy at the supermarket. He shouted why, just why the hell? Why is he telling him the next realm won't reveal itself to him? Why the hell not? Calm down, bro. We feel your pain. Even he knows how pitiful it is for an old man, nearly 70, to resent the heavens. But even though he chased the sword his entire life, yearning for the next realm, he couldn't even begin to grasp what that next realm was. As he thinks this, he is crying relentlessly. Now, I want to cry. Director Kim looks at his pitiful friend silently. And then with his blade, he writes a technique into a tree. And before he leaves again, he tells SEO that, while sparring with you, he devised a martial technique to make up for his shortcomings. He knows it may not be much comfort, but he hopes that learning this will help bring him some peace of mind. After Director Kim leaves, CEO gets up to check the technique, Mountain King's martial art, and Moon Crossing Step, and notices that Director Kim has disappeared again, just like that. 5 years later, it's been 50 years since he returned to this life. But there's not much time left until he dies again, and he wonders if Director Kim has died. So this is the fate the heavens have chosen for Director Kim and himself. With his talent, no matter how hard he struggled, this was as far as he could go, and Director Kim's talent too. Perhaps that was its limit. No matter how much ordinary men like them struggle, they can't escape the fate the heavens have set for them. Just when it seems that Bro has given up on his plans, Director Kim the goat pops out and asks what kind of nonsense this old man is spouting. But this time, Director Kim is missing an eye and both his arms. CEO approached him to try and help him. But Director Kim has other plans. Without wasting time, he grabs CEO with one hand and flies away to escape something. CEO is wondering the same thing we are all wondering. How does he clap with no hands? Okay, just kidding. SEO is surprised Director Kim is moving him with no hands. In the distance, a cultivator seems to be the one chasing Director Kim. Director Kim explains that this is the price he paid for blasting off one of the Judgment Stage cultivator's arms. He seems genuinely happy that he managed to deal meaningful damage to a cultivator. He tells CEO that he saw with his own eyes the realm beyond the five-path core, the one no martial artist can reach. He saw it with his eyes. CEO is just speechless by this fact.